Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Black to Business podcast. I am your host, Monique T. Marshall, and I'm excited about today's guest. We have a very special guest, Mr. Steve Canal. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, now I have to tell the people how important you are because you are very important. Steve is an award-winning senior marketing executive and award-winning branding expert. He is the author of the great book I've started reading, and I'm so excited, that has reached #1 on Amazon's bestseller list in less than 24 hours, entitled The Mind of a Winner. In this book, Canal discusses having a winner's mindset in business and in life, which I think is very important. The book also features insights from Shark Tank veterans Damon John, Barbara Cochran, entertainment mogul 2 Chainz, and more. So I have to mention that he's also currently on a multi-market tour for his MillerCoors Tap the Future Entrepreneur Business Pitch event. That is amazing. So, Steve, I don't want to say too much, but you have to tell us, start from the beginning, who is Steve Canal?
Man, Steve Canal is a father. Steve Canal is a husband, a brother, a son, and somebody who I consider to be an economic empowerment advocate. I want to see people win. I want to see people succeed, and get out of their environment. So to the core, I'm a person who's here for people, at the end of the day. So that's me and who I am and how I got here. It's been an exciting journey. I've been fortunate enough, to go to college for free and play college basketball.
Wow.
At the time, which was the number 4 rated conference in the country, the Atlantic 10, to, going from there and working for Tommy Hilfiger out of school. And from Tommy Hilfiger going on tour for the U.S. Army and developing their first national tour, was amazing, to going on and being an entrepreneur and starting my own business and having the highs of 7-figure billings coming in, to my business failing and overcoming that by understanding how it failed, and having the right people around me, from mentors and advisors, post me going through that, to being able to grow, and go on tour and travel to every state in the country and work with, I mentioned the U.S. Army, but, Allstate Insurance Company, Delta, American Airlines, McDonald's, McCafe, and so many other brands. I've been able to lend, some insight and being able to develop concepts and ideas for their platforms and their tours and their brand and bring that to life, to, joining MillerCoors and being a lead with their national community affairs, and being able to develop, what you mentioned earlier, this national tour, which is Miller Lite Tap the Future, which is has our inspirational spokesman, which is Damon John from ABC Shark Tank, who's in the book, to other amazing judges who are part of this platform, and our host Kenny Burns, the lifestyle specialist, to touching over 30,000 entrepreneurs and small businesses, to funding a handful of businesses with 6 figures of dollars with no strings attached, just wanting to see small business win, because I always say, without small business there is no America. To meeting all these amazing people on my journey, to writing this book, The Mind of a Winner, which got me here today and where I am today.
Definitely amazing. And I kind of want to back up and talk about, your role within MillerCoors, and also what made it important for you to start the Tap the Future.
Yeah, me coming along in my journey and having my business and thriving and making all this money, to it failing because I wasn't properly structured for it to sustain. I understood what small business needs, by being able to interact and meet other entrepreneurs along my journey. I felt it was important for a machine like Miller Lite, who, disrupted the beer industry. They created the light beer category, when people doubted them. They held true to their vision and who they were, and developed Miller Lite. So I wanted that story to resonate with small business, to know, just because you don't have all the dollars, just because you don't have all the insights and all the people around you, there are people who want to help. And by developing this platform, we were able to position ourselves to help small business, which we've had. First year that I've done it, Tex Pride, there were two, college students who moved on and started their own business, and they started licensing emojis. And they ended up winning our first year of the competition, and they ended up winning about $300,000. And the following year, they got bought out for $27 million. So by
Wow.
being able to have this machine to put you on a platform and give you the proper, structure and foundation, and platform for people to know who you are and what your business is about, they were able to be recognized and they scaled their business. I'm not going to take anything away from the two gentlemen, who own the business. They thrive, when they got the little push from us, to become, multimillionaires. And the following year it happened again with Bellhops, who got an incremental 10 million of seed capital into their business. Who Bellhops is basically like the Uber for movers. If you need to move, you hit the button and you'll have movers show up at your door to help you move. They went from a little small town, Chattanooga, Tennessee, to being over, spread around the country now, and offering their service. And we've been able to replicate this year after year. So it was important for me knowing what I went through and
Right.
what I felt to be able to do something, being that I was in a position to do that. It would have been selfish of me just to, be in a position, be happy, and just, go to galas and balls and, smile with the other community leaders and keep it moving. That wasn't it for me. It was more that I wanted to do.
Definitely. And you are doing it. So, what made you want to write a book? What made you want to write?
Man, again, I've been fortunate and blessed to be able to meet all these amazing people along my journey. Um, you know, just the Rolodex and my phone, my contacts is amazing being it, that I was blessed enough to be on the road and meet all these amazing people and do these cool things. I felt, you know, through my journey and traveling to all these states around the country and
Right.
seeing what people go through, I was like, man, everybody doesn't have access to all these people. Everybody doesn't have the opportunity to have mentors and advisors around them that can put them on a platform, to grow and scale their business, or as an individual, climb the corporate ladder, or, achieve your goals and climb that mountaintop. So I felt, again, it would have been selfish of me to retain all this information and not share it. In order for us to grow as a community, as a society, we need information. And I had a lot of that information, and I felt it was important for me to compile that information, and put it into a book. I say, you're acquiring high level security clearance, to gain this access to some of the most classified minds of an era.
Mm,
When you look at Damon John, he created FUBU for us, by us. That changed the culture. You have Kenny Smith, who's a two-time champion in the NBA and Emmy Award winner on TNT for his Inside the NBA on TNT. You have Everett Taylor, who's considered a millennial genius from Forbes, and the CMO at Skirt, which is revolutionizing the car industry, to my wife, Swing Cash, who's a two-time Olympic gold medalist and three-time WNBA champion, philanthropist. Um, and you go down to you know Barbara Corcoran, who is a real estate tycoon. She was a beast in real estate. And
mhm.
then Two Chains, who's a Grammy Award winner. Joe Anthony, who's a serial entrepreneur, and Mary Seats, who's a fashion influencer. I wanted people to realize that I wasn't looking at just athletes and musicians. I wanted to touch different categories and industries. So you see that you don't need to be just an athlete or a musician to be successful, or in entertainment. There's real
Right.
estate. There's so many other things that you can do to become successful. But the the most important piece of it was, out of all these industries, and all these people, I didn't do any of these interviews the same time. They all were separate, but there's a
Mhm.
common thread amongst them all.
Wow.
The habits, the methodologies, there are key elements that they all tap into that help them get to where they are today. So I wanted you to realize that, and that's why I highlighted them on the back of the book, so you can see that they're all from different industries, but they all got there using very similar habits and methodology.
Definitely. And I am reading, so I'm so excited. But one of the things, I don't want to give away too much of the book, but one of the things is, you start with defining the mindset or defining a winner. So can you give the people listening, what is a winner? Like, how can you briefly, define that? Because what makes a winner?
Definitely, and it's a couple of things, right? I'm not gonna go too deep into it. I'm gonna be high level, so when you do, get a chance to read, not you, but whoever's listening, it'll make sense. First and foremost, to me, a winner is someone who accomplishes what they commit to achieve. So
Mm-hmm.
you have your goals, you have your purpose, but the key element is you have a relentless determination and a rare drive to tap into the realm where miracles happen. Because it's a miracle to go from having no insight, no concept of something, to
Mm-hmm.
putting your drive behind it and your passion behind it to achieving that goal and achieving, and realizing what your purpose is and working towards that. And it takes a relentless determination because you're going to open many doors and many of those doors aren't going to open and they're not going to be what's going to lead you to that success. But on that, you might have tried 50 doors that have slammed in your face or didn't open, but that 51st door might be it. It might be that person who's going to give you that extra push to reaching your goal. It might be, you realizing this new concept or idea, because of all the research you've been doing, that leads you to get over that hump, get over that hurdle. It takes that relentless determination to make that miracle happen. It doesn't just happen overnight. And I use these people as examples. It took Jay-Z 15 years to become Jay-Z. Before that, he was Sean Carter. It took him 15 years to get to the point where his music hit and people started to recognize him as an elite entertainer. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And this is a similar story with everybody in the book. And it's a similar journey and story for a lot of people. Michael Jordan, they say, he was cut, in high school, and then he ended up working his tail off to get a scholarship to North Carolina. And now is known as probably the best basketball player of an era, of all time, really.
Right.
But it takes effort, it takes time, it takes determination, and that's why with, in the, content of the book, um, all the chapters are reference to an element that's a part of being and having that mind of a winner. I didn't just come up with these. I specifically labeled them for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Training your mind. You have to have these habits. You could have worked towards some habits that you got when you were 16 years old that are stopping you from becoming successful now or reaching your goals now. You need to, you know, reshape and remold these habits. And when you read this book, you're going to look at these elements and some of these habits that they're sharing with you that you can incorporate into your life that can get you over the hump. Breaking barriers. A lot of people feel like they're stuck, and they're within this chapter, it's giving you that element of overcoming and breaking those barriers, and determination of what we're just talking about. Communication, being able to sell your vision, being able to communicate your vision, being able to communicate your purpose and why you're doing what you're doing. There always needs to be a purpose, because when you don't have a purpose, that's when you can fall by the wayside.
What do you think that winners are made or born, or is it something that you develop over time?
I think that we all are born with a gift,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people leave that gift dormant because they feel like they can get through life with just that gift, not activating the gift and working hard to make that gift work for you. So I think we all have it in us, but we all don't have that relentless passion inside of us to reaching that goal. One of the hardest steps is actually taking the first step and doing. When you want to accomplish or do something, if you want to start a business, a service, or offer a product, the hardest thing is actually taking that step to making a realization and doing it. And a lot of people get stuck with just doing that. They don't want to jump off the ledge. They don't think their wings sustain them and let them fly. So they stay dormant. So I do think it's within us all, but we
Right.
all don't have that dog in us to bring it to life.
Definitely. So you also mentioned, it takes time. And I think another thing that was mentioned, in the book is also like social media. It's taking time and you're seeing, you get to see people being successful. So sometimes it can be people develop these microwave habits where they think it's going to come overnight. So I know you mentioned the good thing about social media, but how do you think that has an influence on someone as well as, positively, and how sometimes it could be negatively affecting others?
Yeah, I think it can give you a false sense of reality,
Yeah.
because you see these things, but what people fail to realize is majority of the time this is curated content that you're
Mhm.
witnessing. People aren't going to post the bad things. They're going to post what they feel is going to get them the most likes. But what a lot of people don't realize is people need to connect. And sometimes when you have that flashy, everything's good and dandy life, to some people that's not real, and you don't connect. I don't connect with you. And I'll use, I don't want to go into politics much, but when you look at just how our current president one is, he dug down and went down to the streets where he felt his base, he represented his base the best. And he went to these cities, he went to these markets to identify with them and let them know, I feel your pain. Even though I'm this
Mhm.
multimillionaire, I know what you're going through and I can connect with you. So when people see his tweets or see his posts, they feel a connection there. But a lot of times people see, this fine and dandy lifestyle and feel like I can get there too, without understanding what they went through to get there. You know, for some athletes, the twisted ankles, the broken fingers, the nights of missing your kids going to bed because you're traveling and you have to go to overseas to play at night, to eventually, maybe 10 years down the line or 5 years, you get a crack into the NBA. And now you see this NBA lifestyle, but you don't realize what they went through. For the fashion people, those who, got taken advantage of and sold majority of their business because they wanted to see their items in a store. Now that entity has the controlling rights of your business and can decide the fate of your business, which you worked so hard for, gone in
Yes.
a second. People don't see that. They only see the flash. They only see what people curate and want them to see. So don't get fooled by what you witness and see. See it, let that be motivation, but do the research and understand the story behind it. So you can put your passion and your hard work behind it to achieve your goals, because it doesn't happen overnight. A lot of people feel as if it just happens overnight, and it does not. A lot of these artists you see, now that you love and you listen to, you download their music, they didn't just go in their basement last week and all of a sudden it's on the radio this week. It took them going to endless clubs and going to radio and, you know, uploading endless music and studio sessions to get to that point. It's hard work, but the beauty of social media is you can reach so many people. You can influence and impact so many people if your message is right. I try to, within all my platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever platform it is, I try to be inspirational and I try to be as realistic as possible so people can see that it can happen. I display my marriage. I display, starting a family. You're going on this journey with me. So it's real. You're seeing the journey live. If I had Instagram 10 years ago when I was doing this business and moving around, I would have displayed it as well, but they didn't have it. So I have to find ways to curate that content for people to realize that it is hard work. It is, I didn't just get here. It was a
Right.
journey to get here.
So you mentioned that you would have shared your journey. So what about those people who don't feel like, I don't feel like I've done enough to share. Maybe when I get to this point, I'll share it. What about those
You
people?
know, what you give out is what you're going to get back. So
Mhm.
if you're not putting any content out, first and foremost, if you feel like, hey, I'm gonna leave my stuff dormant, I'm not gonna do this, well, during that time, do your research and study and get as much information as you can so you can get that content. Who can I work with? Who do I know within this publication? Who do I know within this company to get a story or start building some stuff so I can start displaying it? What are you doing to get to a point where you can share your story? If you're just holding on to it and just hoping that one day you'll get to this point where you can share, that's not going to be good, because if you don't have content, you don't exist. Social media is built
Mm.
off of algorithms, and based off of your post on social media, what you post is, who you are. And if you're not posting and somebody types your name, do you really exist? You might be looking to get a piece of business with a company, and the company researches you, and because you decided not to put any post out or do anything, you don't exist. So can this person really do what they say they can do? You
Right.
need to show and prove. So if you don't feel like you have enough content or you don't have enough I call it receipts from your life to display to say, hey, I've done this, and that, then you need to start working on it and you need to start finding the low hanging fruit. So even if it's, your old university or college or your old high school or a business, or somebody that works within a company that how can you barter? How can you get a write up? How can you work on a project? What can you do? If it's, somebody like a celebrity that you might know or know of, how can you dedicate time towards their nonprofit or something that they're passionate about so you can get
Right.
exposure, so you can post and push out? It takes you you need to become more creative. You can't just sit back and say, hey, I don't have enough, so I can't post. You need to become creative, start finding that low hanging fruit to be able to put that content together to be able to start sharing.
Definite key. Low hanging fruit. I like that. Um, and Steve, you have a great list of people, insights from a great list of people. And I know another thing is, mentioning that the people you surround
Yep.
yourself with. So has it always been that way for you? Or, what are some of those things that, led you to make sure, I got to surround myself with this type of people. I got to bring value in this way.
Yeah. So everything that I've done in my life has come because somebody has been a champion of mine. When I say champion, they
Mm.
talk about you when you're not in the room and they support who you are. But it started with me being true with who I am and understanding that I need to put my best foot forward and I need to be real with the people I and interact with, and whatever I promise, I need to deliver. And by being that, people become champions of you and supportive of you because they know you are who you say you are. So along my journey, it started very early on, and a lot of people don't really pay attention to those who are closest to you because they're closest to you. So you just see them as
Right.
that person. You see them as your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, that neighborhood store owner or that store clerk or that teacher. You don't see them as people who are actually impacting your life. So, very early on, from when I was in college, I'll use college as an example. My college coach would talk to me about visualizing the game. You need to see
Mm.
the game through. So when you get in the game, you know how to handle a situation because you've played it out in your head already. Most people would just see that as a sports tactic or sports inspired, guidance. But that's life. You need
Right.
to visualize life and play life through. So when things come about, you know how to handle it. And there's certain situations, like if you want to start a business, think about the worst possible situation that can happen. And if you can overcome and you can deal with it, then you can move forward. Unless you're saying, hey, I'm going to die from doing this, then you might not want to do it. But if the worst thing that can happen is, I might, lose the $5,000 investment that I worked so hard, for to get, because I wanted to buy these t-shirts, and it didn't work out. Well, you learned a
Right.
few things. One, you don't ever want to put all your chips on the table and go all in. You want to have enough on the side. So if that idea fails, you have enough to try again. And then two,
That-
and then two, you want to be able to learn from the situation. So if you decided to go with 10 different SKUs or 10 different designs, maybe you should just go with two and post those two or share those two with friends and get insights. See what people like, see what people are attracted to, and you can make a more educated decision to move forward to say, hey, all right, I don't need to go with two. I'll just go with this one design, let that one design work, get the proof of concept, and then you can roll out another one. You learn through trial and error, but you need to learn. A lot of people continue to make the
yeah.
same mistakes over and over and over and over again. And you need to learn from
Mm. So can you give us an example of a mistake or a memorable failure that you had, and how did you bounce
it.
back or
Yeah,
learn from that?
I talk about this one in the book, so it's more in depth and more detailed in the book. But
Get the
yeah,
book, people.
but when I started my business, I had these clients, and I was bringing in seven figures, of billings back from working with these businesses. But I felt as if it would keep coming because I was working off my talent. I knew I was good, and I knew I could
Right.
deliver. But what I didn't do was develop a sustainable model. I didn't develop a model that
Mm,
could sustain over time because in 2008, when you know, the depression hit, I wasn't ready for it. So I was, I felt as if, I can keep fishing and keep catching all the fish because as an entrepreneur, you eat what you catch. There's a saying, you eat what you catch, meaning what you bring in, the business you bring in is what you're going to be able to feed off. And checks weren't coming in the same. There's a recession. Businesses
mm,
weren't the same. People weren't spending the same amount of money. As a consumer and as a customer, and as the business. So that started to wither away, and I wasn't prepared for it. So what I learned from it is having again advisors around having those people who might be an entrepreneur, who might be in the same business, or might be in the same service, or might be within the same industry to guide you, to give you that advice like, hey, maybe you should put some reserve on the side. So if something were to happen, you'd still be able to sustain and overcome that year or two. And when, the market comes back, you'll be able to keep moving as if nothing changed. But when you go from clients telling you, hey, we'll pay you in 30 days, they're 30-day terms, to now it's 90-day terms. Now instead of waiting one
yeah.
month, to be able to pay all your bills, now you're waiting 3 months to pay all your bills. And I wasn't structured for it, so I was able to learn from that mistake, and understand that you can't just rely off your talent. You have to be able to let that work for you to be sustainable.
Mm. So for the, most of our audience are, people who are starting a business or just started. And a lot of times, you have those instances where people get so stuck on the idea that they don't think to plan. I know you're doing the tap for the future and things like that. So based upon, your experience, what advice would you have for people to make sure that they're properly
Now,
planning?
one of the most important things I can share is don't you can't do it by yourself.
Mm,
You need to have people around you. You need to have the right people around you to be able to bounce ideas off, to be able to talk to um, your journey, to be able to make those decisions that can help scale your business, because you don't have to continue to make mistakes and fail. Failing, you learn from failure. You learn from your mistakes.
right.
and you learn what not to do. Some people can't bounce back from that. So you don't need to put yourself in a position where you're going to put yourself out of business. Get people around you. Get people around you that can help. Get people around you who want, because people want to help. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that, and you need to ask for the help. You can't feel as if like I have to do this by myself because I don't feel comfortable asking this person or that. What is the worst thing they can say? No. All right. Then you move on to the next
Right.
person. You can't and you shouldn't want to do it by yourself. And that doesn't mean, I'm not saying like you need to go out and give pieces of your business away. You don't need to, give away 30% to a lawyer to help you, or you might know a lawyer and that lawyer might help you initially to draft up or give you some examples of things that you need, to be able to sustain and move forward with, some legal documents that you might need. You might know somebody within radio or entertainment that can assist you. You might know a teacher. You might know this person. But unless you ask, you
Right.
won't know what they can help you with. And the only way they'll know is if you ask. It's the same thing with corporate America. I always tell people, people don't know what you want unless you tell them. So you have to tell
Mm-hmm.
them, I want to become CMO. I want to become a director in the company. That's the only way that they're going to be able to help you, put you on a path to become that. But if you're just going to go and work, work, work and not tell people, and people are getting promoted ahead of you, you should sit back and ask, why are these people getting, promoted ahead of me? It's because you're not asking and telling them what you want. You need to tell people what you want in order to receive. So if there's one thing I'm going to leave with you starting your business, shouldn't and you can't do it by yourself. You need the right advisors and mentors around you to help.
Definitely. And that's a mindset of a winner, the mind of a winner. So yes. One of the other things I had to ask you is, so you talk a little bit about the plans. So the plan, the A through the D. Now, what about those people who say, I don't need a plan B because that deviates me from plan A? You know, you have to talk
Right,
about that.
definitely. To feel as if it's a distraction, misguiding,
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Um, you need to be prepared. And I'm not saying that you need to go completely away from plan A. Plan B is just a revision or a pivot. I love saying the word pivot from plan A. So you might want, to start a business and you're going in one direction, but the proof of concept isn't there. People aren't responding to what it is you're offering. So you might pivot, still have the same model in the same industry in the same business, but you might offer something different, or you might offer an additional service, or you might tailor what
Right.
you're offering, so it's more relatable to people, because sometimes what you're offering could be advanced and people just don't understand it yet. So you need to offer a scaled down version first, and then as people start to grasp, you have that in reserve to offer them that advanced version. So I'm not saying to totally deter and go away from your initial plan. Having an adjustment,
Right.
having a pivot to your plan, just in case it doesn't resonate and there is no proof of concept to who your audience is. And again, it can be changing who your audience is. You can say, I'm developing this apparel company for high school students. Maybe it doesn't resonate to high school students. Maybe it needs to be junior high, or maybe it's college students, or maybe it's business professionals. But to say that, if I don't focus on these high school students and go to every high school in the country, how will I know? You just need a sample size. And if it doesn't work, you move on and you
Right.
pivot to try a different direction, and maybe that will hit. So you need to have those plans. You need to have those pivots. You need to have those just in case moments, because you don't want to be caught, with your pants down and fall by the wayside because you didn't have that, you know?
Def- So who is the mind of a winner
The
for?
mind, the mind
What
of,
individual? Mm-hmm.
my goal with this book is to get it into as many hands as
Mm-hmm.
possible. I just want people to read it because if you want to be the best teacher, you want to be the best singer, if you want to be the best in technology, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be the best parent, best mother, best father, this is the mind of a winner is for you because it's about a mindset. It's about determination. It's about, reaching your goals and understanding what your purpose is. Because when you have that purpose, when you identify what your purpose is, it allows you to get over
Right.
hurdles because you know what you're working towards. So that one thing that is a bump in the road isn't going to be considered failure. You're going to learn from it and you're going to keep on pushing because you know it's something greater. You know what you're working toward. So the mind of a winner is for everybody. The mind of a winner is for those who want to achieve and have goals in life and need that inspiration, that motivation to push them. That's what this is about. It's about that mindset because these individuals you're going to read about in this book, you know, I tap into things that you can't read from a biography. You're not going to read by just pulling them up on the internet. Damon John and I
Right.
talk about dyslexia. You know, 1 in 5 people have dyslexia. Damon has dyslexia. I have dyslexia. More than half of the sharks on Shark Tank have dyslexia. Richard Branson has dyslexia. Whoopi Goldberg, Steve Jobs, people who are amazing, have dyslexia. But if you look it up, people think there's something wrong with you if you have it. So we talk about the advantages of dyslexia. So this book goes deep. It goes deep into unlocking those things that might be holding you back from achieving your goals, and that's what this book is about.
Definitely. And one thing I do appreciate about the book is definitely the fact that, you have the plans in there, but it's also, interactive and like, taking and setting those goals. So helping people set those goals. So I definitely think, it's necessary. And I
Yeah,
like
I
that.
definitely try to make it a workbook as well. I also consider it a workbook
Yeah.
because like you said, I talk about goal setting. There's an exercise in here, love and hate. Where Barbara Corcoran talks about what are the things that you love and writing those things down that are helping you achieve and become successful. And what are the things you hate that are holding you back from becoming, and you need to identify those things. We keep all this stuff trapped in our minds. We need to unlock and put it down on paper or write it down in your notes in your phone or write it down in your tablet or your laptop so you can see it. When you see it, it becomes a reality. When it's in your head and you don't think about it, it becomes dormant and it could be stopping you and you don't even realize it because you didn't identify
Definitely. So throughout this process, like what is something that you've, found out about yourself?
it. I was able to dig deep with this because it's not comfortable writing about yourself and talking about yourself. So being able to pull, me tearing my ACL in college and pull out, the lessons I learned from that and how that I was able to pivot because my entire life I thought I was playing basketball. I got scholarship. I was, nominated All American. Like people knew, and I was known for playing basketball my entire life. I dedicated hours towards it. I didn't go on dates. While friends were, going to movies and enjoying their summers, I was traveling playing basketball, and then I tear my ACL my senior year. I had to pivot you know so I
Mm.
was able to identify that along my journey and bring that to life and understand that I taking a step back and realizing these things from playing to my business and it failing to overcoming it to understanding my purpose. I learned about me because I took a step back and I actually took the time to put it on paper because we
That-
have all this in our head. Like I said, that's why it's important to write goals and write all this stuff down because we forget a lot that we go through. And some of the things that we forget might be a lesson that can help you overcome something 10, 15, 20 years down the line. that perseverance, knowing that you've been through it already. Me failing in business and overcoming it. My whole life
Right.
was dedicated towards basketball. I tore my ACL and there was no more, and I overcame that. If I could overcome something that I was truly passionate about and I loved and I dedicated my life towards, and because of an injury, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't play with the torn ACL. It took me a year to overcome that, and to be able to
Wow.
overcome that and start working with Tommy Hilfiger and developing, world class programs for the U.S. Army and all this stuff. Like I was able to pull stuff out of me that I didn't know I had during that time.
Definitely. And the great thing too is I was so excited when I saw like the fact that you reached number one on Amazon's bestseller list in less than 24 hours. How do you think you were able to
Um,
do that?
just honestly, me being who I am, and I am a people person. I help without question. I give without asking. Like I don't expect if I do something for you, if I do a favor, if I help you out, if I make a connection,
Right.
I have there I'm not looking for anything in return outside of you becoming successful in what you're trying to do. And I think when it came to the call of
Um,
action of me finally putting something out there and saying, hey, I'm putting this body of work out there and I need you to support, people responded, and
right.
because I've been real with people my entire life. I've, all the stuff that I do, like I said, I'm an economic empowerment advocate. I want to see people win. And if I'm in a position to help, I'm going to help. And this book isn't about me. I could have, a lot of people, their first book, they're writing about themselves. I, the only reason I'm in this book and I talk about myself in this book is so people can connect with the person who's writing it. So, all right, I
Right.
understand why he's writing this book. I get it. I could have just highlighted these people, but then who's this person that wrote it? Why is he reading it? Not a journalist, or I don't, that's not my field or industry, and I'm interviewing these people and I'm putting these chapters together and I'm putting these stories together so people can tap into their minds because along my journey, I've been fortunate enough to meet them and I wanted to give you this.
Definitely. So, Steve, what keeps you, motivated?
Man, again, seeing people win. But now I just had a son who's going to be a month old on Thursday. So during writing this
Oh,
book, I was,
congrats.
going through, my wife being pregnant, and going through that and being here for her and doing this tour. So I gave a lot of me for this to happen, sacrifice, to be locked in a room when I could have been, rubbing her feet or talking to her, talking to my son, playing him some music. I was doing this body of work to share with the world, so for now it's time. I was selfish during that time to be able to do this. So now it's me, now that it's out, it's all for my son and my wife. I do this for them. I do this so they understand that, the work and the hours that I put behind it are to make sure that we can enjoy life because this world is a big playground and you can enjoy this life, while
Definitely.
you have it. There's a lot to see, a lot to do. And I want to make sure, because I've been fortunate enough to see this entire country and travel the world. And I want my son to be able to do that. My wife, she's an athlete, so she does it, but it's another thing when we can do it together and have our son. So that's what it's for. That passion, for that to happen in addition to putting myself in a position to help people succeed and be successful. That's what the brand executive is about, and offering these tools. That's what the mind of a winner is about. It's about giving back. That's what, Miller Lite Tap the Future is about. Everything that you see around me or I produce, I put out, it's about people at the end of the day. Without small business, without people, there is no America. And I want to be able to live in this country and enjoy it. So, I'm gonna do my part to help everybody else get in a position to be able to achieve
Beautiful. Steve Canal for president.
that.
That was a good, but you're doing, like you said, it's amazing things. And I'm excited for what you're doing with Tap the Future. So you have to, share with the audience, what's going on with the tour and how can businesses be a part of,
Definitely.
Tap the Future.
Right now we have we have our business and beer, which is a spin-off of Tap the Future. The whole national program, it went through from February to April was the application phase, so it'll open up again in 2018, February to April. And we did our live pitch events where we selected the finalists who pitched in July and August. So now we have our 5 finalists who will be pitching for a chance at $100,000 next Thursday in Chicago. So, I'm excited about that. And we have a business and beer event where we bring in 4 panelists and a host to talk about the good, bad, and ugly of business over a beer. And the next one will take place in Denver. So we'll be in Denver the night before the final. So on the 27th, we'll be in Denver during Denver Business Startup Week. And then the 28th, we'll be in the finals in Chicago. So I'll be moving a little bit for that. The next year, we'll be in a city near you, doing these business and beer events and live pitch events and bringing information to your doorstep, to your local bar, your local lounge, and having these candid conversations about the good, bad, and ugly of business. Um, and then in addition to that, tonight actually, or every, I do it once a month. We have the brand executive call where we actually highlight different topics to talk about. It's a free call. You can go on the brandexecutive.com and register for free. And my next guest will be Anytime Variola, who's written The Crown and Burlesque and all these amazing books. And we'll be talking about the balance between love and business. And how do you balance the two? So we go from that to talking about all types of topics, your brand identity and, when you're starting your business. And, that's what it's all about, just giving and pouring back.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to definitely have to jump on one of those calls. And before I let you go, we have to have a couple of fire questions. And the first one is, what advice would you give your 23-year-old
Ooh,
self?
a 23-year-old self. Um, at 23, I graduated. I started going on tour with the Army. So I was traveling the country, and seeing a lot. My 23-year-old self, I would
Hmm.
have told him to meet as many people as you can, and capture the moment and appreciate the moment, because it's rare that people get to travel 11 months out the year of going to different states in the country, and meeting and seeing new people. So I would have advised them to meet as many people as possible, because those people that you meet along your journey are the people that could potentially help
Right.
you get to your next level, or be that person who is making the decision when you're pitching for some business, or they can be the person who's hosting that cool party you want to attend, or they can be that person who's working security, at a major sporting event that you want to attend. Like, all walks of life, people work and people are a part of great things. So the more people the likelihood of you gaining access to what it is you're trying to achieve, you can gain. So I would have told myself to make sure, because again, being dyslexic and being a Capricorn, I'm to myself, so I don't really go out and try
Mm,
to meet everybody in the room. I try to meet the right people in the room. So I would have told myself,
key.
that, like, make sure you're working the room and meeting people and understanding what people are doing, because along your journey, you might bump into these people again, and that could be the deciding factor of you moving on to the next level and achieving your goals.
Definitely. And I wish I knew how to.
I wish I knew how to. That's a tough one, because I try to put myself in a lot of different things. But I wish I knew how to play instruments. I wish I knew how to play the drums, play the guitar, play the piano, because I'm a lover of music. I have over 500,000 songs in my, hard drive. before there was Tidal and Apple Music where you could just stream all this stuff. Like while I was traveling this country, I was collecting CDs and downloading CDs, and now I have
Oh
them
yeah,
on external hard drives. And I'm a lover of music. I wish I learned how to play the piano and play the drums and guitar. That how sexy is that? To be able to get on a piano and start playing the piano or guitar. So I would love to be able to. I wish I could, play instruments.
definitely. And Steve, what's the last item you splurged on? Something you
Thing I
recently splurged on?
recently splurged on. Well, I'm to the point where I don't really splurge on myself anymore. So the last thing I splurged on was for my wife. She,
Oh, that's good too.
carrying a baby for 9 months isn't easy, so making sure I splurge on her. And it's her birthday on Friday. So she's the last thing that I've splurged
Oh,
on. And for me personally, last thing I splurged on was this book. Investing in the book to make sure the
oh,
creative and edits and on top of it,
right.
I want to make sure people read it. So I donate a lot to high school students and college students and organizations and nonprofits. I donate these books so students can get this in their hands because this is a pivotal time in their lives. It's right now. And if they don't have the proper mentors or proper people around them, hopefully they'll read this book and they'll have 9 mentors right there who's going to tell you about their journey in their life and share with them in habits that they can hopefully take on and incorporate.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, Steve, it has been a pleasure. And you definitely have to tell everyone how can they, support what you're doing, how can they reach you
Very
or,
accessible.
follow what you're
On my
doing.
platforms, website, it's Steve Canal. So my website is Steve Canal, CANAL.com. And through the website, you can gain anything that I do, you can gain from there. So if it's the brand executive and you want to get on a call, you can gain access from there. If you want to purchase the book, The Mind of a Winner, there's a link on there for the book. If you want to learn more about me, everything about me is on that page. Um, I have my access to YouTube, so all interviews that I've done, you can gain access to the interviews from YouTube on the page. All the events I have coming up, it's on that page. All my social media tabs are on that page as well. So everything Steve Canal is on my website, stevecanal.com.
Amazing. And of course, everyone, you can follow everything at Black to Business. Visit our website, blacktobusiness.com, and be sure to, rate, subscribe, and comment on this episode so that we can have more amazing guests share their knowledge like Steve has done for us.